name is Carlton Nettleton, and thank you for attending this talk on software pricing. I want to thank the organizers, Zuzi, Pavel, and the rest of the team, in addition to the volunteers. So we've got a lot to cover. Let's get started. This here is going to be our journey today. And on a scale of 1 to 10, either write on a Post-it, a sheet of paper, or on your mobile device, what you know about this topic. A 1 means, I don't know anything. A 10 means, I'm a pricing guru. Okay, so take a moment, or think about it in your head. You don't have to write it down, but just take a moment, think about where you fit on a scale. All right, if you gave yourself a 1 or a 2 or a 3, think about what you want to learn in this session. I encourage you to write it down, but that's up to you. If you gave yourself a higher number, write down what you already know about this topic. So 1, 2, or 3, what you want to learn. A higher number, what do you already know? Okay. Finish up whatever you're writing. Turn to your neighbor, do a very short introduction. Briefly share what you wrote down, right? What's your score and what you wrote down. I'll give you 30 seconds just to talk to someone else at the conference. So, okay, so let's wrap up our conversations. This is me. I'm the president of the Scrum Academy, certified Scrum trainer for over a decade. As you can tell from my accent, I am from the United States. The last 7 years I've lived in Portugal. I have just about 25 years of experience working in this industry. So 2001, I started as an extreme programmer. So I've done a lot of different things. The most recent role that I had was the VP of Product at Applied Frameworks. They were a consulting company based out of the United States. So I had a chance to deep dive into product management the last 5 years. I really like product management. I really liked helping our clients solve product management problems. So if you need any assistance in that area, I can help. That's it for introductions. I do have copies of my book if you would like a little short copy of my book. But let's talk about software pricing. And let's begin with a scenario. Here are 2 toasters that you can buy today. And without looking on the internet, what do you think is the price of this toaster here? What do you think that costs? Any idea? 350 euros, right? Right. 30. Depends on the country. All right, fair enough. 30, 50, something like that, okay? 45 euros, in the middle, not bad. And without looking on the internet, what about that one there? 100. 795. 75. 250. Did you look on the internet? 400. 360 euros. So my goal in this session is to help you understand why these products differ in price by an order of magnitude. In addition, I will share with you a framework to help you confidently set pricing of your software. Much of the content of this session is based upon this book, Software Profit Streams by Jason Tanner and Luke Holman, plus my personal experiences working with our clients at Applied Frameworks to help them price their software. And the first thing that you need to know about pricing software is that the price is more than just the number. In fact, software pricing is a system driven by a set of interrelated choices. These interrelated choices can be documented with the Applied Frameworks Profit Stream Canvas. This framework describes the business model for a software-enabled solution. And if you look carefully, There are 11 blocks here. In this talk, we're only going to be talking about the one in the center, pricing, right? But before we leave this canvas, notice, right, this is in the center of the canvas, and while it may not look like it right now, every choice you make in an adjacent block will affect your price of your software, okay? So what's the second thing we need to know about pricing? The more value you provide, the higher price you can set. So what do I mean by that? Well, look at the place of food, right? There are 9 items on this plate. Grapes, jamon, tomatoes, olives, pickles, cheese, etc. Each one of these items provides a tangible benefit to the customer. And in general, the more tangible benefits that you can offer, the more value your solution provides. Consequently, if we had a plate with 20 items, it would have a higher price than this plate that only has 9. But what are some other ways to add tangible benefits to this plate that goes beyond adding more items? For instance, we could have a plate of organic versus non-organic food. We could have premium products versus standard products. And for those of you that find most of that plate unappetizing, we could offer a vegan plate. Each one of those tangible benefits offers additional value, which means we can charge a higher price. So for physical products, this connection is easier to make. Here's the tricky part with software. Most of the value remains hidden to the customer. Therefore, product managers and product owners need to have a way to expose the value, and that process of exposing value to your customers is called customer benefit analysis. And this allows you as a product manager or a product owner to clearly understand and communicate all the value that your solutions deliver to the various customer segments. So without customer benefit analysis, then your pricing is nothing more than a guess. But we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about customer benefit analysis. That was a subject of a talk that I gave at the Portland Scrum Gathering last year. If you want to know about customer benefit analysis, I can talk to you about that during lunch. So let's return to our tale of 2 toasters from the beginning. If you recall our second rule of pricing, we can start to see why the prices are different for these products. This is the list of the tangible benefits associated with the Koenig toaster. This is the list of the tangible benefits associated with the Instaglow toaster. In addition to the tangible benefits, the Instaglow toaster offers many, many more intangible benefits, such as aesthetics, social status, fun, less frustration than the Koenig toaster. It's the combination of tangible and intangible benefits which explain why the Instaglow toaster costs more than the Koenig toaster, which leads us to this very important conclusion when pricing software. Value-based pricing. Value-based pricing is when the price of the software is based on the value provided to the customer, not the cost associated with creating, marketing, selling, and supporting the solution. If you only remember one thing from this talk, this is it. Okay, quick break, 30 seconds, write down 3 ideas you've learned so far about pricing in this session. 30 seconds, just take a moment. Yep. Okay, so let's talk about how to base a solution, or how to price a solution based on the value towards its customer. This is the software profit streams pricing model. It has 4 parts, right? So now we're going to talk about, okay, how do I actually figure out the price of my software? We're going to start at the top. Strategy. Strategy defines how you intend to compete and position your software in a competitive landscape. There are 13 different strategies available, okay? We're not going to cover 13. But in the interest of time, I'd like to highlight the 3 most common. Premium, competitive, and penetration. Premium is when the business chooses a higher price relative to the competition through a combination of positioning, brand, quality, and other dimensions of value, right? And you might want to think about an example here, as most Apple products are considered premium. Mercedes, as an automobile, is considered a premium, and if you think about clothing brands, you might think of Gucci, all premium, right? Competitive, though, is when a company selects a price based on the pricing of their competitors and the cost of substitutes. So if we think about some competition, right, basic plans for Prime Video and Disney Plus, those prices are competitive, right? If you think about an automobile, Volkswagen is considered a competitive pricing, and if we think about the clothing example, Pull&Bear might be a brand where people think of competitive pricing. And finally, penetration is when a company chooses an initial lower price while providing customers with exceptional value as a growth strategy, right? And examples of that might be the initial launch of Apple TV or Prime Video. Very low price to bring people in, but you still had the same service that you would get later on when the price would change. In my experience, the default is always competitive. And while many business leaders aspire to have a premium strategy, they just don't have the brand equity to support the strategy. So the default is always competitive as your strategy. Now, if we think about price structure, right? Price structure are the choices you make to monetize your price strategy. And structure describes how different segments and how different software attributes impact the pricing. There are two parts to structure: metrics and fences. In the interest of time, we're not going to talk about metrics, right? It's the part, how you charge per unit. However, we are going to talk about fences because fences lead us to our third rule of pricing. This here is an important point, and I'd like to illustrate with a concrete example, okay? So suppose we have a software-enabled solution, one that uses computer vision and AI to identify textile faults as they occur in the knitting process, okay? A naive approach would be to charge everyone in the market the same price, which would yield this monthly revenue for a business. That's not a bad number, right? However, markets are always segmented whether or not the product owner or the product manager is aware of those segments, and those segments are going to value the solution in different ways. Some segments will really value the solution, right, plus have the capacity to pay more. Other segments are not going to get as much value from the solution, so why should they pay the same price as the other segments? If we segment the market based on how customers value the solution and price the solution in relation to the value it delivers to these customers, it yields this monthly revenue, right? And in this fictitious scenario, where 2/3 of the market pays the same or lower price, creates over creates over $200,000, that's our VP, over $200,000 of revenue for the company. Therefore, value-based pricing is based on segments is extremely important for price structure for suppliers. However, customers and prospects want to avoid paying higher prices, so suppliers need a mechanism in which to enforce the pricing, which leads us to our VP of Fun and Curiosity and fences. That's my dog, Bruno. In essence, fences are rules designed to prohibit customers in one segment from purchasing a lower priced solution designed for a different segment. And fences are beneficial to customers because it allows the supplier to align the product's price and its functionality to amount of value the customer receives from the product. There are 4 types of fences: buyer identification, purchase location, time of purchase, and purchase quantity. So let's talk about these very briefly. Buyer identification is based upon customers self-identifying membership in the segment with informal or formal verification process to confirm their participation in that segment. If we return to our toaster example, right from the beginning, we have toasters for at-home and personal use, and we have toasters that are used in restaurants and hotels. The key to this fence is to guide customers to the correct segment. Purchase location allows suppliers to have different price levels or different prices when customers purchase the same solution in a different geographic location. A classic example of this fence's action is when you buy wireless technology or wireless headphones in the airport. That price is different than when you buy it normally out in the city, right? Time of purchase. A time of purchase fence is setting the price based on when the product is purchased. For example, Many conference organizers offer an early registration price versus regular enrollment. It's the same product, right? You come to the conference, it's the same experience, but has a different price based upon the timing of the purchase. And then finally, purchase quantity. Customers who buy more items typically get a lower price than a customer who purchases a limited quantity. So what's the bottom line here? Fences create profit for your business. Just like value-based pricing, fences are extremely important to suppliers because they are the least complicated way to charge customers different prices for the same or similar product using the same price metric. Okay, now I think we'll do a little check-in with the microphone, which is, what are 3 ideas or concepts that people would tell an interested colleague about what we've talked about so far? What would you share? Someone back at work.
Can you repeat the question?
What are an idea that you would share to an interested colleague or peer about what you've learned so far about pricing? Up front.
Yeah, I like the idea that the different segments value differently the value that is provided, so the price can be different. So yeah.
Okay, right, exactly, right. Different segments value the solution differently, and therefore opportunity to have different pricing. Cool. Anyone else?
Maybe a contrarian point is that it has to be hidden from the customer, because if the customers find out, boy, are they going to be angry.
Depends on the nature of your fence, but sure. How do we want to communicate the pricing to the customers, the different prices? Right there.
Yeah, I was thinking about using a different strategy based on the fencing as well. So maybe for low volume, keep the price really low, and not the other way around, not keep price high if you buy a lot. Keep price high if you buy a little, but do the other way around as well. That should work as well.
Right, so you can think about how your strategy impacts your pricing. Where are we? Are we premium, competitive, potentially penetration, and thinking about what different fences could be available for us. Okay, yep. Did you want to add something up front here?
Okay, maybe the thing we learn is actually pricing is not only a number, it's a value.
Right, so price represents value to the
Yes.
customer, and it's related to a system.
Yeah, and maybe one critical thing here, this value should define by whom?
From the customer's perspective.
Yes.
Right.
So it's not us who trying to market these things, because we need to get to the bottom or to the market and speak to the people and know what is really matter for them.
Right, that's the whole process of customer benefit analysis, where you really try to figure out how does the customer value the solution, how does it offer them value.
Can we see that thing, the customer value analysis?
I don't have any of that examples like right here, right now, but I can share that maybe during the break.
Thank you.
Was there one more over here? I felt like I saw a hand, but I'm not sure. Okay, maybe I didn't. All right, so now let's talk price specifics, right? So that's a little bit, okay, here's the structure, here are the key ideas, value-based pricing, we have to think about fences, right? Now let's talk about, okay, how do I figure out the actual number, right? How do you figure out 49 versus 349? So that's called price specifics. And this is the section of the model where we set price levels for different customer segments. And price levels are what people pay for the solution. And for the remainder of this talk, I'm going to walk through a scenario of how you actually set the price level using this concrete example. And it's based upon a problem we solved at Applied Frameworks, but I altered a lot of the identifying details. Okay? So suppose I want to buy a new pair of jeans for a conference. And I find my perfect size, and I put that item in my shopping cart. But in the last few months, I've been learning how to play tennis, and I've lost 2 kilos, so yay for me. But it's really important that I have these jeans, so I put another in my shopping cart because I want to make sure I have the perfect fit. But I'm worried about the size because on another site, I saw this size. And we all know Italian jeans never really fit, so I just buy this third pair to play it safe, right? And as any consumer knows, buying clothing online is hard. In this extreme fictitious scenario, I did not buy 3 pairs of Gucci jeans. I bought the same product 3 times as a strategy to kind of get around this problem. But this strategy is a common consumer behavior out there on the internet. In addition to the financial impact to the consumer, so I had to shell out 900 euros 3 times, there are multiple impacts to the retailer when consumers buy multiple items, same item, different sizes. And in this scenario here, SizeMeter, it's a fictitious company that developed B2B software that utilizes computer vision and AI to make size recommendations for consumers who visit small to medium-sized online clothing retailers. And SizeMeter's product exists to address these problems that I've identified up here. And in our scenario, let's assume that SizeMeter is already selling their product for 420 euros a year. Okay? It's out there. And they want to see, hey, is this the best price that we can offer for this product? And here are the 5 steps to follow when you're setting the price level. So let's see them in action, because it's kind of high level. The first step is you basically do market research, right? Visit competitor websites to explore the range of prices that are available in the market. And as you can see from this log scale here, I use a log scale, my background's geophysics, we like log scale. The range of prices is wide to reflect the broad variety of solutions. Everything from apps you can download on your phone to software that's used on the enterprise level for some of the largest clothing retailers out there in the world, okay? And note how the market research indicates that the market is segmented into 4 different areas, 4 distinct groups. And for our price level example, we're going to explore the pricing in this range here, okay? And you can see I already have like that yellow circle there. That's kind of where SizeMeter is today. So within this first step, unfortunately, there are 5 other steps, but they're pretty straightforward. First thing is you want to identify the highest possible price you could charge. This would be based upon your customer benefit analysis. So if the customer, this is what it would cost the customer to get based on your customer benefit analysis. It's all the value you provide them. Then you want to estimate the average service cost per customer. And for this segment, let's just assume it's 189 euros per year. Okay? Then you want to think about, okay, what's the lowest possible price we could charge? This is called the floor. And this is your average service cost plus your minimum required profit margin. So for most SaaS software, that's about 75%. Okay? Next is we want to adjust the ceiling. The adjusted ceiling is equal to the ceiling, the highest amount, right, minus the customer's total cost of ownership. These are the costs the customer or the retailer will incur to install, configure, and use the SizeMeter solution. Okay? And finally, you want to identify the price range of competitive solutions. So that's our price range, right? These are all the competitive solutions there in our market. And for SizeMeter, that range, just to make it really clear, 331 euros to 735 euros. Okay? Now, we have to apply our price strategy. And if you remember, when I talked about strategy, I said the default for most software companies is going to be competitive. So competitive means you follow the market, and in the case of SizeMeter, we set a price level that is in the middle of the competitive range. Okay? Continue on. All right. So what are some facts that we want to remember from this section? What are some ideas or concepts that we want to think about? Because there's a lot of information here. 2 facts. What are 2 things that you remember? Okay, so yeah, so strategy is really important when you are thinking about your price, right? Because if we were on more premium level, we wouldn't be in the middle, we'd be at the top of the competitive range. Yeah, so market research is really, really important. So classic market research is a really important first step of thinking about, okay, what are our prices and what are all the different segments, right? And if we go back here, okay, we go back here. So we would repeat this process if we wanted to compete with the SizeMeter solution in all 4 segments. You would have to repeat this process for all 4 segments. right? Or if you're a size meter, you say, well, you know what, we're just going to compete in this range here, right? Again, that's more about the strategy of your business. Okay, let's move ahead. So if the first two steps were about determining your price range and applying your strategy, right, the remaining steps are about tuning and validating the price. To assess sensitivity, right, we're going to review 6 factors, okay? So if your switching costs are low, right, it's recommended that you lead with a higher price. Higher switching costs means that the customer has a higher total cost of ownership, which means you must offer a lower price to compensate. In the case of size meter, switching costs are low relative to the competition, which means we have a higher price, right? We want to have a higher price to prevent them from like saying, oh, you know what? I found someone cheaper, and I'm just going to go switch to them because it's easy to quit size meter in this scenario. Next, we look how easy it is to compare your solution to the competition, right? So if comparison shopping is difficult, then you can charge a higher price. In the case of size meter, though, comparison shopping was relatively easy, which means lower price. Next, we want to evaluate the quality level of your solution compared to the alternatives. Again, this requires going back to this idea of market research. In most cases, higher quality equals higher price, right? In the case of size meter, their quality is equivalent to the alternatives, so no change in price. So continue on, we evaluate the value of the benefits provided to the solution. The more valuable the benefits are to the customer, the higher price you can charge. Realistically, the collection of benefits associated with size meter is less than the competition. Therefore, the price has to be lower. They just don't offer as many features as what their competitors do. So they can't, when we talk about value-based pricing, they can't charge more. The next factor to consider is the purchase size relative to the customer's overall budget, right? So if the purchase size is small relative to the overall budget, you can lead with a higher price. And in the case of this size meter, the target segment's annual revenue is between 1 million and 5 million euro per year. So a 300 euro purchase is rather small compared to the budget, right? This means we can raise the price level twice. And then finally, we look at fairness. If your price is not perceived as fair, then you need to lower your price. If you recall, the price of $5.25 was right in the middle of our acceptable range. Therefore, no change in price. So we have a new price, $5.25. Remember, they started out at $4.20. We went through this analysis, right? Did the market research, looked at the ceiling, etc. We looked at some 6 factors that are very important to consider. We're at $5.25. We're not done. We need to validate this with financial modeling, right? So now we've got to open our spreadsheets and start to think about, okay, what is this? How does this affect the bottom line? So this is about constructing a financial model to forecast revenue for different scenarios, right? This is classic product management work. And if you recall that 420 euros was the current price, which is our baseline in yellow, you can see some estimations on the quantity they think would be purchased and the potential revenue. The target price is 520, which is highlighted in blue. And the thing that I'd like to note here, that lowering the price to 389 yields more revenue than the baseline in this scenario. Okay, interesting. Now there's some projections about what they think is going to happen to volume, because when you change the price, you are going to have some price sensitivity associated with volume. But revenue is not the only factor to consider. Product managers and product owners need to consider profitability, which is our step 5. And in this step, we add a column to our financial model to account for annual service cost, right? Because if you're going to have more customers, you're going to have to pay more for service costs. And if you remember, our annual service cost is $189 a year. So the baseline is in yellow, our target price is highlighted in blue, and the new price, $5.25, yields more profit than the baseline. Okay, that's good, that's a win, that's what we want. But note that raising the price here to $620 yields nearly equivalent profit without a real drop in service costs for the business. So 620 euros is a legitimate price option for this business. Okay. What more do you want to know about the financial modeling? What questions could I answer at this point? And I wonder how much time I have left as well. Yeah. What's in the back, in the front, and then we'll just wrap this up.
I think she had her hand up. Did you have your hand up? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. How did you calculate those numbers? I mean,
How do I calculate the numbers?
The pricing is clear, but the quantity purchased, how did you get that?
Well, so one of the things that you would want to look at, let me just make sure here. 464 is their current baseline, so that's what their annual numbers are, right? So we just did some very simple projections here. Did I think, if I recall correctly, maybe a 5% reduction on each tier or something like that. So you have to do a projection. You have to project to say, okay, what do we think is going to happen realistically, up and down? Again, it's just judgment. It could be that, could be a finger in the wind, but it's just based on judgment. Okay?
If you're choosing the last row, which is the 620,
Yep.
apparently you're moving your strategy to premium.
I would propose that maybe not that they're moving to premium because they're still within the competitive range. I think premium would be even higher than that. Right? Okay. What else? We're almost done. So, one more question. Right there. Yes.
How is it possible that in your example, the average service cost goes down when the purchases decrease? Should be...
So in the
there are
example
no economies of scale?
What's that?
There is no economy of scale here?
Well, so in here, right, the service costs going down because you have less customers. Right?
This average service cost is not per customer, it's the overall number.
It's per customer. The service cost is per customer. It's estimated to be 189 euros per customer. So if you have less customers, you spend less time supporting them at one level. It's a simple model.
The number per customer should be either constant or increasing with the less customers.
So yes, you could add that variable to be changing over time. For this model, I made it very simple.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So that's the end. Thank you very much, everyone. If you have more questions about pricing or about financial modeling, or feel free to talk to me at lunch. Thank you.
Thank you.